nobody else can do this job except for you. And I was like, yeah, totally agree. Yeah, you're right. Great job.
Glad we agree.
Glad this worked out well for both of us.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Irregardless. I'm your host, Gabriela Ulloa, and today we are joined by the incredible television host, style expert, Lilliana Vazquez. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Beautiful. I'm like,
Thank
they're
you.
not happy we're here. They're like, get out of the way, girls.
They're never happy that we're here, but you know what? Jordan over here,
Can fix
with
that.
audio. I can't believe it's been 5 years since you and I spoke for the first time ever.
Yeah, it's weird. I think in that post-COVID period, time is a little bit warped for me, and I can't believe that was half a decade ago.
That was a terrifying sentence for you to say.
I know.
Half a decade sounds
I know.
crazy.
I know. I didn't have my son.
That was gonna be my question, because I was like, so much has changed, but the biggest thing is you're now a mom.
Yes, which is so strange because I say this all the time because I think so many women, especially as they get into their 30s, have this feeling of, do I want to be a mom? And then they feel guilty for even asking that question. And I always say, listen, I didn't really want to be a mom until the choice was taken away from me. And the choice that was taken away was I had just kind of like everybody's dealing with right now, just kind of undiagnosed infertility. They didn't know why, nothing had caused it. They did all the tests. And something about them telling me that I might not be able to conceive all of a sudden made it so clear to me that I wanted to be a mom. I didn't think that being a mother was my entire identity. And if I didn't fulfill that, then I wouldn't be whole. It just came to me in a different way. And I just think it's a lot for women to have to carry in themselves to be like, oh my gosh, what if I don't want to become a mom? But by the way, it's one of the best things I've ever done with my life. It is not the best thing. It is one of the best things that I have ever done in my life.
You mentioned the word guilt in there. And I read, I think it was a personal essay that you wrote where you said that you wanted to have a baby so badly that you felt like gratitude was the only emotion that you were A, allowed to feel, and B, allowed to talk about.
Yes.
Has that changed at all for you?
I still struggle with so much guilt. It's a shift of guilt. I felt guilty about being pregnant was because I wasn't overjoyed when it happened. And I had fought for 6 years to get pregnant. And what I didn't realize is the reason I couldn't make space for joy in my pregnancy is because I had so much trauma from trying to get pregnant. And nobody told me that you could carry that with you into your pregnancy and into your postpartum and even today. It feels like the second you get pregnant, you have to erase anything that happened prior to that moment, whatever you struggled with, whatever loss you have. There wasn't space to hold both of those feelings. And I'm like, I'm supposed to be the happiest I've ever been in my life. I'm only supposed to feel grateful. Meanwhile, inside, I couldn't get over all of the pain and the trauma. And it wasn't until I started seeing my therapist, who's a maternal mental health specialist, in my second trimester, that she said to me, you can be joyful and you can still feel really sad. It is okay to hold space for both of those feelings. And I said, well, why did the world tell me I couldn't? And she's like, because that's what the world does to women. It tells you that you can be one thing, you can feel one thing. And that really shifted how I viewed my pregnancy. Of course, I was overjoyed and I couldn't believe how lucky I was to finally be pregnant. But at the same time, my body and my mind still had to process all of the loss that I had suffered for 6 years. There's no way to move forward without addressing what had happened.
Speaking of a friend of mine who recently had a baby, and when she was pregnant, she was experiencing that, like, this is an alien in my body, but I feel like I can't say this out loud.
Oh my gosh, you can't say anything out loud. I remember thinking, well, I'm gonna hire a baby nurse because I need help. And here's another thing that you can't say out loud. You can't say, I wanna have an elective C-section, which is exactly what I did. And I remember the first time I said it in a group setting and everyone just stopped the conversation. Really? I don't know. It was so shocking to them that somebody would have, and not somebody, that me, who was having the baby, who was carrying the baby, would have a choice in how I had said baby. That worked for me both emotionally and physically. And these were all moms. These weren't women that hadn't gone through this before. You would think that they would come at it with some empathy to be like, oh, yeah, of course you get to choose how you get pregnant, if you get pregnant, when you deliver, how you deliver. But saying, I want to have an elective C-section was like, you're already a bad mom because you're not bringing the baby into the world in the way that other women find that choice empowering. I also think, listen, I got pregnant at 40 and I gave birth at 41. Being able to decide how I want to take care of my health and how I want to take care of my child is in my hands. I don't care what other people think. And I think when you have children in your 20s and sometimes in your 30s, you still don't have that sense of security and confidence in yourself. And so I think a lot of times in your 30s, you might be pressured to do something that all of your friends are doing, or you might have this type of birth or that type of birth because everyone over here is telling you that that's the right way or the better way. Whereas in your 40s, you're like, I don't give a fuck. I'm 41. I've lived 4 decades on this planet. I'm good. It took me 6 years to get pregnant. I'm going to decide how I give birth. And if an elective C-section is safe for me, safe for the baby, and my doctor, who I chose, agree that it is good for me, then let's fucking go. Why are we talking about this? Women can be really mean to each other. And I find that it pops up a lot around motherhood for some reason, or I found it, that it came up a lot for me.
I can just imagine the amount of the mental game postpartum and once you have the child and the invisible load, as people call it. If there are people out there who want to have kids and they want to do it with a partner,
Yes.
what do you think are the qualities that they should be looking for in that partner?
Oh my God. Let me just tell you this. It does not matter how much you love, adore, respect, value, honor your partner. You become different people when you become parents. You never know who your partner is as a parent until they become a parent. And I don't mean that in a negative way. Sometimes it brings out the best in people and you double down and you're like, oh my God, I married you for all the right reasons. But you are basically meeting a stranger because you have never been a parent. Now, when you have your second, it's different. You know what you're getting into. But for my husband and I mean, we've spent the last 4 years reassembling our marriage because the stakes are different. Our priorities have shifted. What I want from life has shifted. My son has been, to me, he's like my rabbi. He's like the person that guides me because I'm just a different person. Like, I obviously gave birth to him, but I also became a different woman because of my son. And that's a really big adjustment. And we go to therapy actively every single week because we are learning how to be with each other. And we had a baby. We've been married 17 years. So we had a baby 13 years into our marriage.
Wow.
We didn't have a baby 2 years into our marriage. At 13 years, you're like, I know this person. I could literally like copy AI them. I know everything about them. I could build them from scratch. And he could, but then we became different people. And so I really think you have to have a lot of grace for your partner, a lot of patience for your partner. And I still think that whoever the birthing party is not given enough self-care in that window. Like, our government isn't set up that way. Healthcare is not set up that way. Homes are not set up that way. Hospitals are not set up. Birthing centers are barely set up that way. There's just so much community support that has to go in this person feeling like they are safe and that they can be vulnerable. And really, I mean, when you look at the way, like my friends who are Brazilian or who are Asian, the way they nurture moms is a completely different system than what we have. It's the most beautiful thing. Like, everybody comes together to support not just the baby's health, but the baby's recovery. I mean, the mom's recovery. It's just mind-blowing to me that we don't have those systems in place here. And that when you try to put those systems in place, people judge you, right? Baby nurse, judged. Formula, judged. Nanny, judged. You can't raise a baby by yourself. That's not the way babies were meant to be raised. We're supposed to raise our children in community, whatever community looks like. And we've gotten so far from that because, for example, my family lives in Texas. Patrick's family lives in Philadelphia. We are on our own here. So we have to build a community. And if I have to hire a community, there should be no judgment or shame in that.
At all.
Ever.
Because the way that you're also going to raise your kid the best with their best interest is if you're in your healthiest mind. You're literally putting your mask on first.
That is exactly it. Like, if mom is not good, like, baby is not good.
You called yourself in an article one time, and I loved this because I related to it.
Oh God, what did I say?
You called yourself a feedback junkie when you were in your early 30s.
Totally.
And I understand that to my core. And you were even saying now that there's so much feedback that you're getting about motherhood or about whether it's your career, motherhood, whatever. How did you go about fine-tuning your self-trust and cultivating that so that you would prioritize your inner voice?
You know, that piece of me is still very much a work in progress. I think a lot of being able to tune that out comes with boundaries. Like, you have to really set boundaries around who is giving you that feedback, because you shouldn't be receptive and open to all energy. Yes. You know, it's like, I'm not getting a haircut from somebody whose hair looks like shit.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So if you apply that to anything else, like, why are you listening to people that aren't as successful, as respected, as valued, as trusted, as loyal as you? Why are you listening to them? And so I think as I've gotten older, I've learned more about the boundaries that I have to put in place to protect myself and my energy. Like my energy is what's most valuable about me. Like you shouldn't just be like giving that out for free. Like people need to have the right people need to have access to it, but the wrong people don't. And so it's hard. And I think it's really hard professionally because when you work in television or legacy media, it's constant feedback. It's your hair is too short, your hair is too blonde. Don't wear sleeveless, wear sleeveless. Hem is too short, hem is too long. That color is too bright for morning television, as the host of a major morning television show once told me. A woman that that color was too loud for her hour. And so you're kind of wired to just take it all in because that is kind of one of the parts of the job that you signed up for. You're just putting yourself out there. And so it was really hard for me to learn to stop that and really understand like who are the people that are worthy of me listening to them. And it's very much a work in progress. I still have people where I'm like, they're kind of on the fence and I'm like, you know?
This is a very selfish question because I think about this all the time. But let's say you whittle it down. You have like your, let's
your
call them like
people.
your board of directors, your people that you go to for advice. How do you still disseminate, okay, this is helpful versus now this is just getting distracting, the feedback?
I think you can't implement feedback right away. I think I am a doer. I am somebody that like sees something and I want it done. Like I move too fast. My husband always gives me that feedback. By the way, he is on the board of directors and sometimes, but right now he's on the board of directors.
He's cool right now.
He's cool right now, but I move really fast. And I think that is, my therapist has told me that's a trauma response, right? Because you don't want to sit with feedback because if you have to actually process it emotionally, it could hurt you. So if someone's like, oh, you should talk slower, I'm like, great, next take, I'll talk slower. Whereas instead of saying, okay, why am I talking so fast? Am I nervous? Am I scared? Did I not prepare? That's a lot harder because then it puts it on you. So I think a little self-reflection with the feedback helps you slow down the correction. And by the way, sometimes there isn't a correction that needs to be made. Sometimes I talk fast because that's the way I speak. I'm excited. So I shouldn't slow down because that's inauthentic to who I am. I think slowing down for me, especially with how I process feedback and how I put that to work, has been something that I struggle with, but I'm working on it. And that's for everything. I think just slowing down in general, you know, growing up, it always felt like if you weren't working, then you weren't valued, whatever work looked like, especially like I'm first generation, right? So my parents both grew up working from the time they were like 11 years old. They don't know what it is to relax or to self-care. And so I kind of didn't know what to do in those times either because it was never modeled for me. And that slowness is really valuable. It's really nurture. It's healing, right? And so I'm always looking for ways to slow down. I am terrible at it and I will pack my schedule because sometimes I just don't want to sit with myself. But that's actually when you're doing like the most work. It's really good to be bored, you know?
Yes.
And I didn't realize how important that was until I saw myself passing on some of these traits to my son. I was almost overscheduling activities or being like, oh, we should go to the botanical gardens and then we'll stop by the play place and then we'll go get ice cream and then we'll do this. And now I realize that the time when he's happiest and we have the most connection is when we're doing puzzles at home on a Saturday with like no agenda. He loves it. And so do I.
I feel like the other side of getting too much feedback, or even when it's like a lot of yes men, is this echo chamber sort of starts.
Yeah.
And that's a really big, very quick route to a lot of missteps is when you're constantly in an echo chamber because you're not really sure when to pivot.
Yes.
I'm very curious because you, in 2004, you started a vintage accessories company.
Yes.
And within a year, you were what, in 300 Nordstrom stores?
I think I was in every door.
So you hear that number, you hear that, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, this is a success. But then you said that you ran it into the ground.
Ran it into the ground, crashed, burned, had no idea what I was doing. It was honestly the most beautiful mistake of my life, is the best way that I can describe it. It taught me so much. It actually gave me the foundations for a lot of what I do now and why I am so careful about selecting the team that I have, the projects that I take on, because again, back then I was just doing. I wasn't really figuring out the behind the scenes part of it. I was just kind of responsive and reactive. And that's when you can get really in like a messy, sticky situation, especially financially when you're starting a business or starting a brand. And yeah, I ran it into the ground. I mean, it was great for a couple of years. And then I was just so far in over my head. I am not a logistics specialist. I do not have an MBA. I do not know how to run an inventory management system. And by the way, I wasn't doing business with like 10 small mom and pop stores in the Hamptons. I was doing business with Nordstrom, like a retail juggernaut. And I was picking and packing thousands of units out of my 700 square foot New York City apartment. The boxes went from floor to ceiling, and we had to carve a path to be able to walk from my roommate's room to the bathroom. That is how many boxes we had. Because I didn't realize that when they ordered 7,000 units, I didn't know what 7,000 units looked like.
When was the moment that you were like, okay, we gotta
Shut this down.
Shut this down.
When they were on the clearance rack selling for like $3.98. I don't know why people are so afraid of quitting something. Like, if it does not serve you, quit. Stop. Nobody cares about that. It's better to call it than to stay with it for 5 years and like hate yourself after it's over. I will say the $4 on the clearance rack was also like
Something
shut
tough.
it down.
Tough to see.
Tough but necessary, right?
Yes, tough but necessary. And then you pivot and you're in entertainment.
Yeah, so I had always been a consumer of pop culture and entertainment. I'm a connoisseur, shall I say?
Yes.
And when I was in college, I wrote for our newspaper. I helped launch our radio station. I didn't know that that was a path that I could take. I'm first generation, so I feel like a lot of 1G kids kind of fulfill their parents' wildest dreams, not their wildest dreams. You are doing everything that they could never even dream of. And so you're not carrying your dreams, you're carrying their dreams for a really long time until you finally realize like you can't live your life for somebody else. And by the way, that's not really what they want.
No.
You tell yourself that story. And so it took me graduating college to finally realize that. And so I had worked at GW radio station, and a producer friend on the show had gone to New York. He was 2 years older than me, and he was a producer at NYC TV, which is like a public access channel, I guess is what you would call it. I don't even know if they have those anymore. And they were auditioning for a host for a show called Central Park Summer Stage. And he was like, do you want to come in and audition for this show? I'd never been in front of a prompter. And I was like, okay, well, fine, let's just do this. And I got the job. Don't ask. He did me a huge favor.
I'm sure he did
Oh,
not.
no, he did. Oh, trust me, he did me a favor. I look back at the DVDs of my first summer on that job. I was terrible. The one thing I was really good at was just like hanging out with the audience and talking to them.
Which is a huge part of the job.
I know. The other part,
Some people are weird.
so weird. You can learn the other parts. So I did. And then I realized this is what I want to be doing. Like, why did I not do this all through college? And it's because I was scared to fail and I was scared to disappoint my mom.
I remember when we got connected in 2020, I was so excited to get to talk to you because you were on E! News. You had just started, I think.
Yeah, because I started the show. I started with E! In the fall of 2019, which was like, I mean, that was my dream job. I mean, I watched Juliana Rancic in college.
Yeah.
So I now was standing in Juliana Rancic's position in front of...
Iconic.
It was like a fantasy. Yeah.
First and only Latina as well.
Yeah. And then Adrienne came along right after me. So now there's been two in a very short period of time, which is amazing.
But unbelievable that you were the first one, considering how long the show had been around.
I think the show had been on the air for over 25 years.
I mean, that's what I
And
grew
no
up watching.
Latina host.
None.
Until me.
None. Until you.
Yeah.
I read that you said that you were interviewing, or you felt like you were interviewing for that job for a decade.
A minimum of a decade.
Do you still feel now that you have to prove yourself in some capacity? Or that's long gone?
You know what it is? I think it's funny. I feel like I worked at NBC for so long. So I was at NBC Local in Philadelphia before I went to NBC Local in New York. And then I went to the Today Show, and then I went to Access, and then I went to E! So I have been within the NBC ecosystem for 12 years, 13 years. And so much of my identity was tied to that brand and not tied to myself. And so much of the value that I had in myself was tied to that brand and that identity. And when the show got canceled, I went into shock. Like, I could not believe that this had been taken from me, because it didn't get taken from me on my merit, right? It's not like, oh, she's a terrible host, the ratings are shit. I actually think we were building an incredible show. We were going to be the only live entertainment news show at 7 a.m. East Coast time. So we were not only beating every entertainment show that was on at 7 p.m., we were also getting ahead of social media, right? And I was really proud of that. And we were doing it live, which E! News had never been live. Now, let me tell you why they hadn't been live. Because to be live and do a news show, you have to be the best in your game. being live on television is a completely different animal. Most entertainment news reporters don't come up through J School. They don't come up through traditional news outlets. They are hosts. They are not journalists and they are not reporters. I am a hybrid of those two, and that is a rare talent. And that's why my boss hired me, because she comes from news. She was my old boss at the Today Show. And she's like, this is a really interesting place to be because I need you to have the same standards that you had at the Today Show, but I need you to deliver it in a way that's like snackable, digestible, and fun and entertainment. Nobody else can do this job except for you. And I was like, yeah, totally agree.
You're correct.
Yeah, you're right. Great job.
Glad we agree.
Glad this worked out well for both
Yes.
of us. I am the talent. Like, I am the value. And I didn't know that until the show got canceled. And I had to really like pick myself up from the ground. I was in a million pieces and figure out what I was going to do. And what I've been able to do since then is not only build a brand and a business, but I'm building a brand and a business that is valued at like, 5X what I was making as a correspondent on Access Hollywood or on the Today Show. I would never have imagined that I am in control of a business that does what it does today. I just didn't know it because I just don't think I had that belief system at the time. I think my belief system was skewed into thinking that they made me worthy, they made me valuable, they're the ones that made me talented, when it was all in me anyway.
That's how I felt when I was leaving Condé Nast. Because that was a dream. My whole life, I was
You
like,
drank the Kool-Aid.
I'm gonna be Latina Anna Wintour. I will be here till I die. Like, that was the goal. And then the moment that it hit me of like, you gotta leave, when I decided to make that choice,
Yeah.
it was like identity crisis.
It took me 2 years. It literally took me 2 years to figure it out. And I remember I had a conversation with a former talent executive at ABC, and she was the one that said it to me. She's like, why are you chasing the old way of doing things? You're so young. You're so smart. You're so good on television. Why are you chasing an old ass job? By the way, this is somebody older. This is not someone young. This is someone who was in their 60s who had kind of like retired from the business. And I'm like, why is this person that's in their 60s, 2 decades older than me, seeing the future, and I'm still here trying to chase a correspondent job at an entertainment news show? Do I even consume entertainment that way? Why would I imagine that anybody else that's my age or younger would? And it's because I was so attached to what that represented, and it represented success.
You brought up skill sets, which I'm so glad you did, because there's a little bit of controversy right now on the internet about content creators becoming red carpet hosts. And listen, I have my personal opinion. I think
this
a
is
skill set.
This is a tough topic.
Okay, well, we're gonna go there, because for me, a skill set is a skill set.
Yeah.
Is a skill set. But I would love for you, as someone who has hosted and done countless red carpet interviews, can you set the record straight? What are the skill sets that go into specifically for red carpets?
So first and foremost, you are hired help, okay? I need everyone to know that. There are plenty of hosts that don't know that. You are hired help. You are there to facilitate a conversation and tell their story. You are not the star. The people that are best at that are conduits for celebrity and conduits for really important people to share their story, share their passion, promote whatever they're promoting. What is happening is content creators are the stars of their brand. They're the stars of their universe. So they're not naturally skilled at being a conduit because they are the product. And so to be really good on a carpet, you have to be an incredible listener. You have to be really humble. You have to do the work. And I don't mean like read a card. I mean, you have to study the film before it. I would go on deep dives on Reddit for 2 days to prep for a junket with somebody like a Julia Roberts or a Jane Fonda. You just have to get to know them. So you have to be really, really curious. I think we're missing that. And I think what's happening with talent executives is they're not necessarily buying into that person's skill set or talent. They're buying into the community and the following that they have. Because right now, shows are so desperate for views. So they're thinking, if I put this person on a carpet that has 1 million, 2 million, 3 million followers, I'm then going to convert their followers to my viewers. We know now, the data supports that's not actually what happens. Now, there are some people that are unicorns that actually learn very quickly because they have a couple of bad hiccups on a carpet in a live format, and they realize, oh shit, this is a job. I didn't get hired because I'm pretty, because I have followers. I actually was hired to do a job. And I think those people are actually taking feedback well and coming back and doing it again and doing it better. But it's a beast, you know? And I think, listen, if you've been in this business long enough, like eventually you do become friends with some of these people. Like I think about like one of the reasons Ryan Seacrest is so amazing at what he does is because he was not the talent for so long. Like he was like, how can I tell your story best? And then people trust him and they feel safe with him telling their story. And then they develop real friendships. And that's why he got every exclusive, and every A-list celebrity would only talk to him on the carpet. So it's funny to me when people start to get confused about what their actual role and purpose is on a red carpet.
When you were doing carpets, did you have any pre-show weird superstition things? I'm like, we're Latinas. We have some
I know we have some
superstitions.
I mean, I always called my mom right before, and she's like, I mean, I'm a really faithful person. I'm not like the most religious person. My mom is, but she always said a little prayer over me before every red carpet. It just made me feel like I was taken care of. Some bad shit still happened, but whatever. I felt better before I got on the carpet.
Yep.
So I'll take it for that. Yeah, I mean, I've had some really awful moments on carpets.
And all of
Celebrities
them.
are human beings. Like, that is my biggest takeaway. They are
Yes.
real people. They have bad days. Listen, if you're having a bad day and you're being paid $10 million to promote a film, should you have a bad day? No.
Correct.
No.
Correct.
You should just like buck up.
Smile and wave.
Just buck up. Just buck up. But I get it. They're human.
Yeah.
You know? So
Yeah.
I try to be nice.
I always think about the Maya Angelou quote. I'm going to butcher the way it says it, but essentially she's talking about people will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel.
Absolutely.
And you have interviewed, I mean, so many remarkable people.
Yeah.
And I mean, you just said you had some terrible ones, but is there one that stands out that has stuck with you, an impression that
gosh.
somebody has made on you that to this day, you still got it?
Yeah, Garth Brooks. I have never been made to feel more respected, special, and just valued as a host than with him. I mean, he is a gentleman through and through. And, you know, he is a professional and an entertainer. And Garth, and there's other people like him, but he's that kind of person that just like speaks to your soul. He's not speaking to the microphone. He is speaking straight into your soul and straight into your heart. And it's rare that a celebrity of that stature can connect with another person that's not in their orbit that way. I think he just truly is one of the good ones. Another one, Michelle Obama, is another person that also speaks to your soul.
Yes.
I had the privilege of hosting a fashion panel on behalf of Anna and Michelle at the White House.
Wow.
And we had a briefing, and I could not believe how much connection I felt to her. Obviously, I'm like the ultimate fangirl, like who is not? But I like held it together for those like 6 minutes that I was in the briefing. So she's incredible. God, who else? Jamie Foxx.
Love.
Just like such a party, just like disarms you and puts you at ease. And then there's people that are just like the devil. I don't know. Like, you know,
Won't make you name names.
we
but
won't,
I'm
no,
sure.
no. And
Sure.
I would never, and like, listen, my friends know, and like my family knows, but just, there's no need. Like
Yeah.
by the way, they rat on themselves. Like there's enough,
Oh,
you know. If you wonder, if you ever like watching TikTok, you're like, is she really that mean?
The answer's yes.
The answer is yes.
Probably worse.
Way worse. Way
Yeah.
worse. When they're in public and the camera's on, that is them at their best.
Oh my God, I know.
Okay? So like do the math. Like reverse engineer what that person is like in private or when they think the camera's off.
When everything is said and done, what do you hope that your legacy will be?
Ooh, that's a really hard question to answer. I'm not good at like the legacy question. I think it always goes back to Santi. Like I want him to be really proud of me, but I think what I want more than anything is I want him to live a life that is about him and the choices that he makes. And if I can in any way impact that, affect that, then I feel like that is the greatest gift. That's the greatest legacy I can leave, that he can kind of like look back at his life and whatever role I play in it, because I also don't want to be the star of my child's life. Not a good thing. And as a Latina mom, like, I know, don't
And
say
a
that.
Latina boy mom.
A Latina boy, I know, like, I know. We are supposed to be the star, the
Yes.
great love of, but like, we are dismantling all of that. There's no need for that. I just want him to kind of look back and just, yeah, and just see like, and just say, my mom was amazing. Like, my mom was amazing, not for what she gave me, like not what I can give him or provide, but because of the way I made him feel, and that he had the freedom to be who he is, how he wants to be for his entire life. You know, that's it. Everyone else is great too. Like, would love for you guys to be inspired by what I say. But yeah, I mean, he's one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me. And I want that for him. You know, I don't know that like I can look back on my childhood and say that. And so I would love to give him that.
I mean, how dare you start that sentence by saying you're not good at the legacy answer?
I'm not.
That was a great answer.
It's so, I guess it's so specific
Yeah.
to him. But I think, you start to realize that, like, I've lived really big opportunities and I've lived really big lives, and it's amazing. And I'm so happy I've done it. But like at the end of the day, like your world's really small, and it's really just these like few people that are like at your core nucleus. And that's kind of what that's what it's about. Like those are the people that matter the most. Obviously, I want to be a good person. I want to be, a healthy part of my community. I want to give back to my community. But at the end of the day, like I just want him to always look back on me and say, like, she was an amazing person. Like I'm really happy that that was my mom. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being
Of
here.
course.
This was so fun.
Oh, this was
I
amazing.
appreciate you. You inspire me immensely. So I'm very grateful
well,
for this
thank you for having me.
conversation.
I really I love what you're doing, and like, please don't stop.
Thank you.
Please don't stop.
Thank you.